Hey, I'm George Deihl. I'm Gerald on Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, and you're watching I Don't Care What You Think podcast.
Welcome to the I Don't Care What You Think podcast. We have another special guest here, a very familiar face. Um, George Deihl Jr. Said it right?
That's it.
Jr. They tell you he's most known for New Amsterdam, which my wife loves. Um, the Blacklist, which me and my wife love. When in Rome, and Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. He is also we can run down the list of movies and shows. We can run down the list. It is an extremely lengthy list of movies and shows. But for those who may not know, he is also an author who's written 4 books. He's also done animation work on 2 animations. He's also in he's also an award-winning actor. Not just any winning an award-winning actor. Over is it 11 nominations?
11 nominations for various, writing and for acting.
Y'all don't understand how powerful this man is. I did my research. He won top short films. He's won at the International Film Festival, Los Angeles Film Festival, Independent Short Awards. He has Best Dark Comedy Award. He's won Best TV Plot. He's won Best Comedy. He's won Best Web Series. The one and only. It is so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So before we even get into any questions, how you going? I mean, how you doing? How you feeling?
Good. I'm doing great. I'm right now. We went on a little beach vacation for the week. We're just kind of hanging out down in Florida, southern Florida. Got out of New York for a while. Escaped the cold. It's still cold up there, so we
Yes, it
decided
is.
to.
We're in New Jersey, so yes, it is.
Yeah. They were telling me. Yeah, it's just been that March weather all of a sudden got cold again, and we were like, let's just go down for a week to Florida, go to the beach, sun and fun and all that stuff. So we're
Well,
doing well.
I'm even more thankful because you taking time out your vacation.
Oh, come on, this is a vacation.
Hey, that's true, but you taking time out your vacation. No, you know how it be. You're supposed to be on vacation because for you it's nothing, but to the family you're still working.
Yeah. We have it's actually it's a little bit overcast today, so it was a perfect day to kind of just chill out, have some coffee, chat about power and stuff like that. So
All right, so but before we even make it there, what came first, the acting or the writing? Like, what did
definitely
you?
definitely the acting came first, and then any sort of writing that I've done sort of came out of just like having stories that I wanted to tell and stuff like that. And then it really sort of kicked off, believe it or not, over the pandemic. I, there wasn't much going on, and I was sitting around, and I had a few ideas that I wanted to put down. And a buddy of mine who is going to be on that new TV show coming out called Fallout.
Yeah.
He was going through some stuff with his parents. His father had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and he wanted to kind of like somehow work through that emotions and stuff like that. So with another guy named Sam Cadman, we all got together and sort of created this TV pilot short film thing called La Cora, which is just about this family dealing with a family with uh, immigrant parents from Chile who moved to New York, and then they lived their lives. And then as the parents got older, the father was diagnosed with dementia. And it's about his son who was born in the United States, but is like first generation, New Yorker. just dealing with their lives and kind of dealing with the in between of being Chilean as well as being American. But and Rod is a funny guy because he speaks fluent Spanish but can't read or write it. Which is funny because I can read it, I can read and write it more than I can speak it. So we sort of like
Yeah,
work together. So all of the Spanish parts in it, I could write it. And he was like, "Wait, what is that word?" And I'm like, That's pollo, that's chicken." And he's like, "Oh, that's how you spell that."
that's funny. That's
So
funny.
so
So, what inspired you to want to be an actor?
oh, well, I would because I'm 50 years old, so
Yeah.
it was Harrison Ford in Star Wars.
Oh,
That's what.
I know that. I know who, and I know what that is.
Yeah. So it's just that kind of hit when I was 5 years old, and I went to the theater. My uncle Joe and my dad brought me to the theater. George Senior brought me to the theater, and you got to see this movie. And I watched this movie, and I was just like, what? And I knew I couldn't own the Millennium Falcon, so I was the next best thing, which was so I did. I got into that, but I really didn't start to pursue it until I was in high school, and I was messing around in high school. My plan was to play soccer for the high school that I was in. Went to like a little. I'm actually from Florida, from Jacksonville, Florida, and I was gonna play soccer for this. I was at this private school, which was not a big deal. It's just my parents were Catholic, and so I went to this Catholic school, and I was gonna play soccer there. But my first week of freshman year, I broke my ankle, and I couldn't elective phys ed, so I elected theater. That was sort of how it happened. And I started doing that. And so I started doing the plays, and soccer kind of fell off the map. And I just started I did theater. And then I went from high school and went to college, went to NYU, studied theater there. And from there, you get out of college, and for me, you get out of college, I'm like 21 years old, I guess. I don't know. But I was going bald then, this wasn't, so it was like I was immediately not going to be that young, hot kind of, new thing,
My
so,
wife's
but I
going through
did,
the same thing.
yeah, so I did end up doing a lot of like Shakespeare and stuff because I could run around the stage with the sword, and have the breath to do all of those monologues and stuff like that. But I also looked a little older than I was. So I did that and was in theater for a while. Did a lot of voiceover work. And at some point in there, I got a little sick. I actually had leukemia, so I was out of the business for a while. And I did a lot of theater because I had a couple of friends who had a theater company, and they really wanted to work with me. So they were really kind enough to make the uh, productions sort of work around what I had to do. Ken and Amy Kasar are their names, and they have a theater in Bristol, Pennsylvania, which is just right outside of New York City, near Trenton, actually. It's just right across the bridge from Trenton. So I worked with them for a while, and then fortunately, as it goes on, I got older. I sort of grew into my look, and then I started to book more TV stuff, and then it sort of kind of spiraled down, 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 and then met the guys from Power, which I guess we'll talk about later. But
All right. So you're saying you've been around for a while. Like you said, you're 50. How does this? How does the acting game change from when you first tried to do it to where it is now? And like how you said, you've booked Power. How has times changed when it comes to trying to even get booked or audition or like because I speak to music people all the time and they explain how it changed drastically to where it's like you could just do it yourself. How did it
yeah.
change? Did it get harder or easier now?
It's that's a good question actually because it's a little bit of both. When I Around the time that I got Power, it the first season when I was on season two, it was easier because there had been the pandemic and we weren't going into offices, and you go into an office, a casting director's office, and you audition and you're there, and who knows, you could have taken the subway down and it could have been just 110 degrees outside and you're sweating, and you get into the audition and it's just, you got to do that, and then you got another audition, or you're running around. But by the time stuff like uh when I auditioned originally for Rory Bergman, who's the casting director of Raising Kanan, I just sent it in. I filmed it from my house and videotaped it and emailed it in. And that's, for me, that's easier because you go in, I can just do it once or twice, at my leisure. And if I wake up at 7 in the morning and do it, and then hit the gym and stuff like that, my day is free. I don't have to worry about scheduling anything, and you don't have to worry about going into an office and smooching the casting directors and remembering everybody's name. You're
Mhm.
just doing it and sending it in, and that's it. And to your point about the music industry, which I don't know tons about, but I can imagine it must be easier because we can do so much stuff from home, and do so much stuff on our own. When we did that project Lala Cora, we funded it, crowdfunded it and funded it ourselves, but we were able to do that because people are ripe for that nowadays. You get your stuff out there. A lot of the stuff that I've written, I illustrate as well. So, like, I just recently finished a comic book that I had a good like 50 copies printed out. Went to a couple of comic book shops and was like, "Hey, would you sell my independent comic and stuff like that?" And they were like, "Sure." And again, you can just do, it's so easy to do it yourself. I've got an iPad that I can draw on. I don't have to worry about buying all these paints and pencils and rulers and stuff like that. So everything has become easier uh to be artistic in any way. And I would encourage anybody to pursue that in any way. Just talking with a buddy of mine last night just about that, about how uh creating anything, whatever it is worth it. And, and it could take off or it could not take off, but the creating of it in and of itself is a reward, which, and I'm proud of like all the stuff that I've done. I will say I'm especially proud of Gerald on Power, but I did enjoy doing that part. I enjoyed doing that part a lot. I love that. I also do love people love New Amsterdam, and my mom loved that. But and a lot of times when I get recognized, I'll get recognized for that, and like it was a small part, but it was a fun part,
Mhm.
and I did enjoy those 3 or 4 days I was on that show. I um, you know, again, Power was something that I was very proud of, and I was glad. Those guys are really, really great. They're as nice as you would think they are.
All right. Since we can't avoid it, it's going to keep being brought up.
Yeah, yeah.
What made you like the whole process of auditioning for Power? Was that were you nervous for it, or did you just go into it as any other audition, or you understood like, oh, this is stars, this is part of their flagship franchise, like?
So, it's funny. So when it did come up, that day I had an audition. I had a couple of auditions. I had an audition for, well, I think I had 4 auditions that day. It was during the pandemic, but it was on the end of it. They had stuff had opened up. So I went over to my friend's house because he has a really nice setup, and I knew that with that audition, because I auditioned with the scene where we're in the anger management class, and I had to stand up. And
Mhm.
so he was like, I was talking to my buddy. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I really want to get that anger out there, and I really want to pop out of that chair. And he was like, I think we can do it. Let's just come over here. I got an idea. I was like, great. And as I was on my way over to his house, I got like 3 other auditions, and one of them was for a TV show on Apple Plus called Hello Tomorrow, which I ended up getting, and I did like 3 episodes of that at the same time that I was doing Raising Kanan, the season 2 of Raising Kanan. But when I was auditioning for Raising Kanan, it had not come out yet. The first season hadn't come out yet. So it wasn't like I knew what it was. I had no idea. and all of the names are changed in the script, so you don't know who's who. And I did know Power because I had worked with, the original one with 50 and all that stuff. Um, I knew that one because the woman who plays Holly on that first season, Lucy Walters, is a friend of mine, and I knew that she had that part. She was in. We were in a play together, and I knew she got that part, and I was like, "Oh, I should watch this show." But at the time, I did. That was years ago, and at the time, I didn't have stars or anything. So, but I was very familiar with it because she was on it. So, we looked at it. I looked at the auditioned. I was not nervous, so to speak, but I liked it. Like when I was like, oh, this is going to be super fun. And I thought it was, we didn't know if it was funny or if it was going to, how it was going to be. And as it turns out, Marvin is very funny on the, London's really funny on the show.
Yeah,
So we just, it was from home. So there was really no reason to be nervous because it was just me and my buddy, you know, doing this, just having fun figuring out how we were going to do this audition. So we did it, and then I had to put down the, so I took off my suit and I put on another outfit for the Hello Tomorrow audition, and then I actually had a couple auditions for the Michael Che show, which I never saw. I mean, I haven't seen who Michael Che is, but I'd never seen the show, and that was like really kind of sketch comedy thing, and the parts were I was playing like a Larry King character, and I was like, I didn't really get it too much. I didn't book it, but I didn't feel like I like got it. What they
yeah,
were kind of going for. I was like Larry King, but I was the devil also. It was a very it was a very sort of strange sketch, but funny. But anyway, so I wasn't nervous so much, but I did want it. I do remember, because I had this script. I was like, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. It's not just some sort of like, I didn't know it was going to reoccur, and I didn't know at that time that it was going to go on to the next season either.
so so how long did it take for them to let you know if you got it or not? The part.
Uh, I actually think it was like the next couple of days they found out I got the call or email rather, and they were like, "Hey, you're booked." And then at that point in time, we don't, I didn't know what it was going to be. They said, "Hey, this is just, you get the part, and it's that scene." And the breakdown says co-star, which is like 5 lines or less. And I think I had like 6 or 7 in that first episode. Well, actually, I think I did have 5 in the audition because we went to so they told me, you film at this time. And then back then we had to go, you get a COVID test, then you come back, you're okay. You come back the next day, you get your costume fitting, you do another COVID test, then they do a rapid test, and then and keep on going, keep on going. So we went in there and we did it. And, that first day was really funny because I guess not to, spill the tea or anything, but we go in there and we all set up. And you got to stay away sort of from each other because it was, the pandemic at the time. And so everybody was masked up and stuff like that. We did that scene, and that very first take, uh, we did it. And, she says, Crystal says, let's not lose our cool. And London improv that or our hair, And so you go, and there was cut and dead silence, and everybody just burst out laughing. And then everybody came out onto the set, and they gave me a couple of more lines. They told London to keep that line. They kind of changed it up, and it was just a really cool kind of atmosphere on the set that really helped facilitate just a great scene and a great energy. So we shot it a couple of more times, and then that was that. And then we were done. Everybody was cool. Sasha, the director's name was that first episode was Ife Riviera, who directed 3 or 4 that season and 2 or 3 the next season, I think. But it was such a great energy. So then they invited me back, and they were like, "Hey, you're just going to be a part of the class," but it was fun. So not to get ahead of anything, but yeah, it was. I found out a couple of days after I auditioned, which is generally the case.
So how did you feel when they decided to Do more and more with your character.
Well, I kept coming back onto the episodes and I didn't have any lines, but I was sort of featured in there. And then they gave me lines, and I was glad that Marvin and I sort of become friends at that last episode in the first season I did. And it was great because London is a great guy and he's really funny and he's very nice and he's always um, between takes, he would get up and he would kind of introduce himself and kind of flirt with all of the ladies who were, the extras and stuff like that, and kind of get to know everybody. Um, so I was excited that we got to become friends. But then when that second season, my first season ended, that was sort of it. We had that funeral scene, and it was great. We kind of all said goodbye. It was very funny because the people who were in the class who didn't have lines, when we all showed up to you're just told you're going to come to a funeral scene. You don't know what the funeral scene is because they don't want to give anything away. And everybody came in, and all of the people who were extras or who had other lines in there, they were like, "We thought you were dead. We thought Marvin killed you," and then we found out who it was, and we were like, "Oh no, that sucks." And then it was it was like, they were we did that, and and then that was it. That was done. And so it was great feeling. I had done the other, there was a lot of scheduling conflicts with that other TV show, Hello Tomorrow, that I was doing, because so I was doing kind of both of them and kind of trying to fit in there. And
Yeah.
both of them ended, and that was it. And we over the summer, my wife was turning 40, and we went to London for her birthday. And we're in London, and I got a call from my agents. He said, "Hey, look, you got an audition. It's for Power. Don't freak out. It's We know you've already been on it. They think they have this character, and they think they want to make it Gerald, but because originally when it was written, it wasn't, and they said, we think we want to do it this way, change it around a bit. So they said, we want to make sure that you can play a heroin addict, like a functioning heroin addict. So they had me sort of re-audition. And but I was in London, so called my agents, and I was like, "Hey, yeah, great, I'll put it down." And the casting director wanted me to call her, so she was very nice, and because she wanted to give me like direction on how to make sure I got the part. And I was in London. I called her up. I said, "Hey, I'm in London," because they were like, "We wanted an ASAP," and I said, "Hey, I'm in London. But I can put it for you, but I didn't bring a suit or anything like that." And she was like, "Oh, just get it to me, when you get back." And I said, well, I get back on Monday. I'll get it to you, Monday night. And she was like, don't worry about it. Just get it to me Tuesday. But of course, I got home, and the first thing I did was audition as quick as I could, and it helped. Little jet lag kind of helped with the audition because I, looked awful, and it was all.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I was really excited to get that, and I really wanted it. So they gave me two scenes, which were just kind of like dummy scenes. They didn't even end up to being in the show. Um, so I auditioned, and then they called me a couple of days, and they were like, their end of it is because I was talking to Sasha Penn about it my first day back when we were at that little seedy motel in that episode.
Mhm.
We were waiting, and they weren't shooting me, and so Sasha and I were having coffee and talking. And he was like, yeah, when we were like, we really wanted you to do it. We really wanted you to be able to do it. So I remember he was like, I didn't even look at your audition. I just had the casting director. I was like, I said to her, just look at it. Let me know if he can do it. So he says, came in. She was like, all right, I'll watch it. And she called him up, and he was like, can he do it? And she was like, he can do it. And then I got cast, and that was it.
That's dope, man. That's dope. That's dope. So, out of all your rules, what do you rank your power rule?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Out of all of your rules, where would you rank your role in power out of all the roles you've played? Because you
I
really
would.
enjoy your power role. So, what do you rank?
I did. I would rank it. I would definitely rank it number one, simply because I've done a lot of great things, and I've had a lot of fun doing a lot of stuff. And there's some theater roles that I've been really proud of, that I've done when I was younger and even as I got older. Um, and a lot like those roles, um, Gerald was such a complex role that I enjoyed playing it. And it's such a strange thing because you go and you do what you do on set. But you never know what's going to end up on TV because you got editors and you have directors and stuff, and they sort of build another performance when you get to the when they get into the editing room. And a lot of times you give it, especially with London, who likes to improv and stuff like that sometimes, you do get a different scene that may have been on paper, different jokes and stuff like that,
Yeah,
or even different, this too as well, in a way, it's not Gerald's story, it's Marvin's story and his redemption story, and Gerald is sort of a part of that.
yeah,
Um, and because this is about the Thomas family, and so when I was going there, I wanted to make sure that Gerald was a piece of that, and it being one of my first big roles on TV. I wanted to make sure that do you do everything right, correct? So I kind of like didn't stray from what they wanted, but I wanted to always pay homage to who Gerald was in the original season, and that he was this angry guy. Um, and that was like, as it goes to the very end, and they're in that hospital. I sent Sasha a text when I had read the script, and I was like, this dude he's just like unhinged at this point. Uh, and I really wanted him to be so upset that he had kind of passed anger, and it was just complete and utter devastation. And I felt in that scene he wanted he wanted Marvin to kill him, and Marvin doesn't, because Marvin has grown, and so he kills himself. Um, and it was and the other important thing to me about Gerald, there's so many ways, because people have stopped me on the street, and one guy stopped me on the street, and he was like, "Yo, you look familiar," and I was like, yeah, I've been on TV," and he goes, "Gerald," and I was like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Man, I have kids in that scene," and he was just like, "God, that scene, it just broke me," and and then that kind of reaction was something that I wanted from the audience. But
yeah.
one of the other things that I wanted was, Gerald's not a good guy. He's not a good guy. And so there's and he certainly a bad father. That goes without saying. But there's like, but he's also, because even me as George, like if I was in that situation, I'd have gone to Marvin and say, "Look, the feds are after me. What are we going to do after this?" Because it's not like Gerald is some sort of upstanding citizen. It's like,
Yeah, you got a point. Yeah,
yeah, it's not like he couldn't have lied to the FBI. Because it's just like, one way or the other, Gerald was ending up in jail. There's like, it was. And I think that his only way, his really only way, and I guess this is the truth about a lot of addicts as well, the only way that he was really getting out, or getting out from under heroin, was Marvin. As weird as that may seem, Marvin was the only person that was going to help him do that, and
it's
he instead, chased the dragon, I think, or tiger. I don't know what they call the heroin addiction, but anyway, though he did that. He loved the heroin more than he loved the friendship that was developing with Marvin, and that there were ways out. I felt that, as I would read the script, there were ways out for Gerald that didn't um end with how it did. And I think that it's funny. London and I liked working together, And originally when I got into the second season, um, I started, I was doing like one of the scenes. I think it was the scene in my office, and I was like, I kept asking these questions. I was like, well, why, what is happening here? Because we don't know. We don't get scripts for the whole, you only get your scenes. And
Yeah.
so I was like, well, I guess I feel this way because of this. And the director who was Monty DeGraff on that episode, and who was also an executive producer, and Sasha were there, and they were like, all right, well, look, you're answering all the right questions. And I was like, okay. And they said, you're working with the FBI. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna die this season. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna die. I like knew it right away. So
How did you feel? How did you feel knowing that the run was over? Like they're about to let you're gonna die this season.
well, like I said, I knew it sort of early on, and I knew it sort of early on. So, or I guessed it rather. So I
Okay.
said, um, so obviously you wanted to go on because, who doesn't like to get paid? But there's, but there's also, um, I knew where it was going, so I didn't feel bad about it. And I was like, I just hope I get to go out, uh, like I did. I wanted to go out in some kind of like big way. If I was going to go out, I wanted to in a hail of gunfire, or
Yeah.
but I think that as far as an actor, I did get sort of this. I did go out in a blaze of glory, because I got that great scene. There was one
Yeah.
time, when we were filming, and I think it was the episode that Sasha directed, where he comes to the house, and I've left the girls in the car. He They had come to me and they said, "Oh, we've seen some of the earlier episodes, and Gerald really comes off very sympathetic." And I thought, "Oh, that's interesting." And I was like, "That's interesting and that's cool." And so I didn't really know where they were going to go with the character, but I was glad that they went, because I was like, it doesn't seem, Marvin was breaking good, and I thought, that either Marvin's going to get out or Marvin's going to go back in, and I figured, well, they got to get him to go back in, um, and so I was like, I don't think Marvin will kill Gerald, and so because I think that they were liking the relationship that Gerald and Marvin had.
Yeah.
um and certainly when you see it, and when I have met people on the street, fans and stuff, they really love the direction that Marvin's character uh was going in. So yeah, I guess the answer to the question is basically, I want, if I was going to go out, I wanted to go out some way that was great, and I think that they did the character justice, um to have him, just, it's too bad that it happened with the dog. Oh, that was the other thing too, was we had gone in there, and when I met the girls who played my daughters, one of their moms was like, oh, you know she dies. They knew it because they had to be told, um before, they said, look, this deals with drug addiction and death, so that the parents could kind of bail out if they didn't want their child to be a part of a story like that. But they
Mm.
were into it, and especially the girl who played Alice, who passed away. She was a funny little. She loved to watch horror movies and stuff like that. She would always tell London and I, have you guys seen what was the one she was in? She was into Megan, or she was into like, she apparently
What you talking about?
snuck, she but somehow like got somebody's iPad and watched one of those horror movies. And her mother was like, and now she won't sleep. She's like, but she loved horror movies, and so
It's just like me. I watch horror movies and then I'll be in the house like, we sleeping
yeah.
with all these lights on, but I love movies.
yeah. Wait, she would do the same thing, and she would always go to London night. She was like, "Have you guys seen this movie?" And we'd be like, "No, that movie sounds scary, and I don't want to watch it." So, but she was totally into him. And then the
So,
other girl was as sweet as could be. She was, she only liked Taylor Swift and unicorns and dresses.
yeah. So, were you able to meet other members of the cast, or was it more just
I
you?
It was me in London for the most part, and then Sasha and the executive producers and stuff like that. I did briefly meet Malcolm. We were my first day. I was taking pictures for like my IDs and stuff like that, and Malcolm happened to be in the dressing rooms at the studio, and so I just saw him and said hi, and then I met Mackay as well. Um, one time in the elevator, and we kind of just chatted for a sec. And I would have liked to have met Patina Miller, but I never did, just because she's such a powerhouse performer on Broadway
Mm.
that I would have liked to have met her. Um, Talked to Tony Danza a little bit because we would do you do a reading of the episode um, beforehand, and you would and a lot of times it's in the readings somebody can't show up to the reading, so you'll read their part as well. So a lot of I think I might have read one of the FBI agents when like Aaron or Lev couldn't be there, and so I would read with Omar or I would read with Tony Danza or something. But and Tony Danza was a big, he would chat before, because we'd all meet over Zoom, and he would, chat. He was a funny guy. I remember one time we were doing a reading. He was like, "Oh my god, I got meatballs in the oven." And he just he left, and then he was like, we were all sitting there waiting, and then he comes back and he was like, "Oh, sorry about that." We're like, "Okay, no problem." But he was a funny guy.
So, before Power,
Mhm.
what was your number one ranking spot?
Well, I played at a theater in Portland, Maine. I played if I don't know if you're familiar with this part, but I played Renfield in Dracula, which is sort of like a horror, and I played this crazy guy who like ate bugs and stuff like that, and it was just like it was a great performance to do, and I really enjoyed it because the you could just come out and kind of take over the whole stage. And so that was fun. And I remember they had, because you're in an insane, it takes place in the play takes place in an insane asylum. And so they would have these guys come out and they would grab me and hold me back, and I would be fighting them, with this like, vampiric strength or whatever. And it was just a lot of crazy mess. A lot of blood, stuff like that. So it was just a fun kind of very special effects laden production, and so I really enjoyed doing that. And since most of my stuff was theater, it was that I did, and so. But if I was to think about something that was filmed, that would be my second favorite. It would probably be that piece that I wrote, La Locura, with my friends about the Chilean family. In that, I play this kind of crazy, actually drug addicted doctor in that, and but he's really weird and fun. That is actually on George Deihl Jr.com. There's a little button you can click and you can watch that whole thing. It's I wrote it, and um, this character is also a uh, army veteran from and the reason he is self-medicated is because to kind of like help with PTSD and stuff like that. But he's actually a very funny character,
Mhm.
and I took a lot of stories that were my father's stories because he was in Vietnam, and so he would come back and he would tell stories. So I had this doctor tell stories about. I changed it to the Afghanistan war, but they were my father's stories from Vietnam, and so that was interesting, I thought, to put in. Um, I so that those a lot of my friends who knew my father were always like, "Oh, you should put his stories in something just so that they don't disappear." So that was fun, and that did get some writing awards. So um, at various little film festivals around the country and stuff like that, or
Right.
around the world too,
It's nice to see your work appreciated,
for
no
sure,
matter what the scale it is.
for sure.
Every time I book a guest, whether it's to the magnitude of you, smaller than you, I'm grateful that people
Yeah,
just say yeah. Because it's one thing for a platform to hit you up and you know of the platform. But when the platform hits you up and you don't know and you still say yes, I look at that. For me, it's like a man, one day I'm gonna be up there with them. Where we send out the email and the guests go, what? I can't wait to do that. So
yeah,
I appreciate I appreciate it. So I
yeah, for
understand you
sure.
call it a little small award, but when I seen you win awards, I said, oh yeah, he's an award winner. I don't care how little the award is. There was other
Hey,
people
yeah,
there nominated.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, exactly. That is true. That is true.
So are you into Broadway? Like, I know you
Um,
act in theater, but are you into Broadway?
yeah. Um, I love to go. I love Broadway, and I think it's great to see. I don't. A couple of things. I don't sing. I do sing, but I don't. When those people are, those people on Broadway, they really know how to sing, and they really
Yeah.
know, and they know sort of like music in a way that I just don't. If I was super famous and they wanted to put me on a Broadway show, I could get away with it for sure, but it would take time. In fact, I have auditioned, especially when I was younger, would audition for Broadway sometimes, and I would get far, and then they would find out that I didn't read music or or anything like that, and so it's like, oh, well, you kind of can't do it there, and so there isn't a lot of non musical stuff on Broadway, and that's sort of a different. My reps don't really have those connections of theater in New York. So it's mainly just TV and film. I would do it, especially if it was a play that was not a musical. The other thing about those, when you see those Broadway people, they're tall. They're big people.
I
with
would agree with you. I've seen a couple of Broadway plays. I would
yeah,
agree.
yeah. Because you got to see them from the back of the house. And I mean, I'm not the tallest guy. I'm not super short, but I'm not the tallest guy. There was an article about Gerald in um online. I can't remember who put it on, but they were like George Deal is an actor, New York actor, does a lot of TV. He's worth $5 million and 5'4". And I was like, first of all, I'm not worth $5 million, and second of all, I am not 5'4". So so it was like
Oh, man.
I so I was happy. So I like I said, I would love to do Broadway theater. I know a few playwrights too that write Broadway stuff. One of my favorites, who is a friend of mine and my wife's, actually, she's really good, and I really like her plays. Um, and she's good. And I would love to do one of her plays, but there's not really a part that I am connected to, that I feel like I need to play, that I would chase her down and be like, I gotta play this part. But the plays are wonderful. It's just they don't have a part for me. I usually play characters who are, um, you know, that have sort of a unrequited love, or like a history, like Gerald, he has that
Mhm.
history of addiction. Um, there's a lot of his past is creeping up on him. That unresolved sort of past is creeping up on him, and I do a lot of that. And if you look through a lot of the characters, if you were to look through my resume from
Mhm.
theater to film, a lot of the characters are even the smaller roles are, they still have that idea of uh trying to deal with something in the past. I play a lot of detectives or whatever sometimes too, trying to figure out what happened before, which is something that interests me a great deal. That's I sort of look for that in a character. And even Gerald, the first episode, he was, why is this guy so angry? So angry. And that's the great thing about Power was it wasn't this guy was just angry. It didn't have anything to do with the he wasn't angry because he was a drug addict. He was a drug addict because he was angry. It was,
Yeah,
there. So
he used drugs to calm him down.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To just cope, or and there's a little clever on the set there too when they did my house. Uh, little clever things in the background. If you look, there's holes in the wall that have little knuckles of blood, that he had just punched the wall and stuff like that. And every time I would see that house, I would be like, oh, those poor little girls. He's
Yeah.
a bad dad. He's a bad dad, for straight up. Um, and the only thing I think there was that little part of him should have, that he should have chased down, which was he stayed. He didn't abandon his children,
That's what I was gonna say.
forever.
He's a bad dad, but on the flip side, he was a
You know,
good dad with bad, bad decisions, and he was bad with his decision making, and he had a horrible attitude and anger issue.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
didn't abandon his children.
yeah.
He
And if
was
he
a
would have,
dad with very bad issues.
he was, I really honestly think that he he chose the wrong team, and the wrong team was he was a selfish dude. He
Mhm.
didn't ride with the FBI, and he didn't ride with Marvin, and he should have ridden with Marvin, because that would be the only way out of addiction and stuff like that. And because the FBI was, they were just bad
Yeah, what he
dudes as well.
was.
You know. Uh, but again, it did all come out. You know, it did all come out. But yeah, I guess your question was, I think it would probably be Renfield was the part that I really enjoyed playing.
Okay, so you let it be known that you can't sing, so you don't really do the singing theater.
I
So
don't do
non
it too much.
yeah, so non-singing theater.
Hmm.
What is your
Yeah,
favorite play that you have seen?
that I've seen. You know what I saw? That always changes. My wife and I, we like to go over to London, because if you go to over there, theater's so inexpensive. So we can fly over there, and we will stay for like a week, and we'll see a show every night. And it's
Mm.
cheaper than seeing a show on Broadway.
Yeah,
And
sure.
yeah, and they're just as good. And I actually saw a show that I'm sure nobody has heard of yet, because I don't think it's come over here. But it was called Jack Absolute Flies Again. And I don't even know who it's by. I couldn't even tell you. But it was so funny. I think I laughed. It was long, but I think it was close to 3 hours. I could not stop laughing. At the end, I had laughed too much, and it was a great production. It was a great show. I loved that. Um, there is an actor who does a lot of theater. His name is Mark, and he does TV, or he does a lot of film too. But his name is Mark Rylance, and I really like to go see him in theater. I just saw him in a play called Dr. Semmelweis, and hopefully that will make it over to the United States. It was really good as well. That was just sad play. But he's always such an amazing actor. He's been on Broadway a couple of times. He was in a play called Jerusalem on Broadway, um, which actually has nothing to do with Jerusalem, but um, it's a great play too. It's got by Jed Butterworth is his name. It's the playwright's name. But that was a great show. That's a part I would probably love to play one day. Um, but yeah, Mark Rylance, I always enjoy seeing that. You know, I do like the theater. I do love being a spectator and being in it. It's just a lot of fun. Um, so uh but yeah, it always changes. Currently, right now, I would say one of my favorites was Jack Absolute, just because it was so funny.
Yeah, my wife got me into Broadway because she
Oh,
always wanted.
great.
Yeah, I was not into it. I'm like, I don't want to sit here and hear them sing, and
Right.
I'm good. It's not bad, but I'm good. And then she surprised me one day because she's the type of person that just goes out on a limb and just, if it's his birthday, I'm not gonna give, because as a man, we simple. So birthdays, Christmas, anniversaries, you want to buy us a gift, we kind of gonna say the same thing all the time because we either broke it or it's time for a new one. So
Sure. Right.
I said my typical gift, which I get every year. And then she was like, nah, we going to New York. And I was like, all right, my favorite animation movie is Aladdin.
Oh, great.
She bought me Broadway tickets to see Aladdin. So I'm like,
Nice.
all right, come on, let's go see Aladdin. No, I took her first. The first time I ever went, I took her, I bought tickets to see The Lion King.
Yeah.
Yeah, then she bought me tickets to see Aladdin. And I went and watched Aladdin, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is good. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is good. I said, she was like, yo, I can take you somewhere where you're already used to the singing because you like the Disney movie.
Right. Right.
But the first time we had to go see a Broadway that wasn't a Disney movie, we went to see the piano lesson.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when I seen broad theater for how you say it. Like it was theater. Like I wasn't familiar with the content. I was just watching. And I'm like, damn, this is good as hell. This is like it was great.
It's great. Yeah, that's. I think that and a lot of people. I think that a lot of people are in the same position where they don't go and see it because maybe for whatever reason they don't feel like they belong or they're intimidated or whatever. But when you go see it, you just it's captivating. It's so great. Um, and that's why I love our little weeks that we go to London and just see theater because every day you're just somewhere else in a different place. I think it's wonderful. And that's one thing too that's very difficult to. I'm always amazed at how a playwright can write a play, and usually it has to be in one location because most of the stuff that I write, it's really long and different places and in
Mm-hmm.
space and it's that's the other thing that if I was to admit I'm a big fan of comic books, so
Me too.
I
I just bought the
yeah.
Teenage Mutant for my birthday that just passed. I
Yeah.
had the luxury of finding the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Room.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
The whole
Yeah,
story in one book.
I got I collected when I was a kid, and I when I left to I when I left home and went to New York, my comics kind of just got lost. And fortunately, a cousin of mine grabbed them and he stuffed them in his parents' closet or in their attic. And he called me up and he was like, "Yo, his parents had passed away or whatever." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of stuff." And he was like, "I found all your comics." And he was like, "Do you want me to just throw them away?" And I was like, "No, I want them all." And so I have them all stuffed in my small little New York apartment. But they're great. I love them. I actually have some early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're not in the best shape, but I think one day maybe
Yeah,
they,
as long as you got them.
yeah, yeah.
So you're a big fan of comic. What's your favorite comic?
I'd have to say, I like, I originally it was Spider-Man, but then it went to the X-Men. And I was a big fan of the X-Men when I was during that sort of Chris Claremont, John Byrne run, in the 80s. So
Yeah.
I have tons of those. And then I just recently picked it up again and started collecting. So I collected the X-Men a lot. I think I'm gonna bail out of that now. And I was actually reading I'm sort of reading their new uh writers of different comics that I sort of follow. So there's a guy named Jonathan Hickman and a dude named Tom King, and their stories are really complex and cool. They both Tom King writes a lot for DC Comics. Right now he's writing Wonder Woman. So I picked that up and it's a really great story. Um, that he's going. So I'm doing that, reading that right now. Um, X-Men right now currently got super complicated. And so I was like, well, this is, and you're buying like 15 books. And I'm like, all right, this is too much. I think I'm going to bail out. As soon as this story, I might bail out. But I say that, but they'll hook me in.
Yeah.
they'll get me back.
Your favorite X-Men?
Oh well, I think Wolverine. He's got that.
Oh my
He's got that.
God, yo.
I know, I know.
I can't
It's so good.
stand Wolverine.
No way. No, yeah, I like him. I like Cyclops too. I think
That's my favorite Marvel superhero.
Cyclops. Yeah.
Out of all of Marvel is Cyclops.
Well,
Me and my cousin were just on the phone last night arguing.
well, you know,
Cyclops is my favorite Marvel hero.
yeah, that's a good one. He though, like Wolverine, they both have that. Like I was talking about earlier, they both have that unrequited past.
Yeah,
Cyclops is dealing with his relationship with Jean Grey. He's dealing with his relationship with his brother. That's what I do like Cyclops as well. But I love that Wolverine Cyclops relationship too. It's always
see, it's that relationship that makes me hate Wolverine.
well, I have to like Wolverine because he's short. So
Okay, I'll give it to you. But
but just for the record, since this is on tape, I'm taller than Wolverine.
but I will say Deadpool makes me like Wolverine more
Yeah,
because I was fine with Wolverine. But when he came into the X-Men and was, why are you doing all this to my boy
yeah,
Cyclops? And
I know.
Cyclops is trying to tell him, like, it ain't the place or the time. We can fight, but you
Right.
want to fight in the middle of fighting? Like, we're fighting already. Just fight and we can fight later. Like,
I think that
I'm not a big Wolverine guy.
I don't think that's a fight Wolverine could win either.
I mean, and I think that's why Cyclops won't give him what he's asking for.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah,
like, hey, let's fight. And it's like, yo, you don't want to. I'm not an animal. You don't want to fight me. I am articulate when I. You don't want to fight me, bro.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And Wolverine is just like, and it's for no reason. Like Wolverine just walked in the building and was like, "Who the leader? Him? Oh, I hate
yeah,
him."
yeah. Let's go. Yeah, right,
Yeah, it's
right.
because I'm the leader.
That's true. Yeah, I actually like and this was because it was at the same time. Basically, when I started reading comics, was a big fan of the New Mutants too. When they first started, this is back when in the '80s with Chris Claremont, she had like Magic and Cannonball and
I
uh,
know so much.
Wolfsbane and stuff like that. I thought those were great stories as well. Um,
But then people call
and
me
they,
villain too because I like villains more than I like the actual heroes.
oh yeah, like you
So,
Magneto fan
yeah, big Magneto fan.
for sure.
I 100%. I tell them all the time, if that was real life, I am with the Brotherhood, and
Yeah,
we are taking out every single human.
yeah, yeah. I think I would be too. I have to admit, I probably would be too.
It makes the most it literally makes the most sense. Like I get Professor X's whole stance on we can work together, we can come together. Magneto literally look at it like, and the one thing I love about the X-Men, they tie real life problems that the
Sure.
reader can understand without saying it. So
Yeah,
Magneto looks at it exactly how the world looks at racism. Bro, they
yeah,
will never be the same. Like
yeah,
we're superheroes. Like we have
yeah,
superpowers and they're average people.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
One day they think we're gonna snap and end the world. So let's just give them what they want and get it out the way.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just move them and
Right.
we can just live amongst each other. Keeping them
Um,
around means nothing because they really don't want us here.
yeah, yeah. And I thought that it was, I wasn't a super big fan of the movies, but well, certainly not the later ones. But in that
Yeah.
first movie, that relationship between Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen was great. And then there are rumors, well, and this is probably a fan rumor, but Giancarlo Esposito as Professor X, which I think is great. But then I think he said he would love to have Denzel Washington play Magneto. And I was like, that would be awesome. I think that would be great to see. And it would really bring it would just bring everything, like you were saying, you would get to, you have real world problems, that the X-Men kind of brings to light in a different sort of story. And I think it would really do service to the source material, that they created in the beginning. And I think it would be amazing. And I
Yeah.
always think that I always want to see like a really, really good actor play Cyclops and a short guy play Wolverine.
My
But I
cousin
do,
said the same thing. He said no matter how good Hugh Jackman was, It
Yeah,
bothers him that he's not short.
yeah, yeah. And
He
Hugh Jackman
literally
is
said that.
tall. I've met Hugh Jackman before, and he is a tall, tall man. He is very tall.
That was his exact words. He said Hugh Jackman is an amazing Wolverine, but I cannot give him the credit he deserves because he's tall.
Right,
I was
right,
like,
right,
what? I'm like, that is so like. I said, just cast bigger X-Men. That's not.
right, right, right. But yeah, but
Just
they'd have
cast
to be
him.
like 8. They'd have to be like 8 feet tall.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that dude. I'd like to see that dude who played Elton John, or he was in the Kingsman.
I know you're talking
That
about.
kid, yeah, Tyler. No, I can't remember his name. Anyway, though, he I think would be great. I think he's a good actor, and I think he would be great. Yeah, he would be good for that. But and the I would love to see somebody really talented play Cyclops, and I would love to see it. That was my thing with the X-Men movies was they made Wolverine the lead, and they should have made Wolverine a side character and Cyclops the lead. He should have been the leader.
I
And
had
the
that. Me and my cousin have that talk all the time too. Like, I don't understand the shift and wanting to push Wolverine
yeah,
to the moon. I never understood that. Like, it was
yeah,
just he was always. If I'm 1A, you're not even 1B because if Cyclops not the leader, they're gonna give it to Storm. So you're not even
yeah,
1B. Like you're not even
yeah.
you're like fourth on the list. Like
Right. Well, he's like it's the he's not. It's just like he's like the Kramer in Seinfeld. You couldn't have a show about Kramer. That would be stupid. That would be a
yeah,
dumb show. He's a great side character, but he's not the great main character. The main character,
they be
I think, it's
trying.
got to
They
be
they
Cyclops.
try. Give him his
They
own
always
movies,
try.
video games. They try.
Yeah, they do try, and it should be Cyclops. I think, especially because he has that sort of relationship with because Jean Grey is in love with Cyclops. She's not in love with Wolverine, and they kind of make it
See
into
what I mean
this.
about real world problems? There are people who
Yeah,
go through. There are people who go through that. He walked in the room
yeah,
and said, "Oh, she looks nice." Started talking to her, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is my wife." And he was like, "Oh, God." like you just don't like me. I did nothing to you. You just got here, and it's just like you the leader. You got the prettiest girl in the house. I'm like, it's just like, come on, man. Like Wolverine is wrong, and his fans will not give him the proper chastising he deserves for the stuff he's
yeah,
doing.
for sure, for sure.
I'm glad I found someone who 100% agrees with me and is a
Yeah,
Wolverine fan and agrees with me.
no, and I think that, but I think that all of those things make both of them great characters, and so and then I think it's just so complex, and so um yeah, I think when I say Wolverine simply because that was it when I was a kid, and this was in the '80s, so it's like, and that was very new. That whole idea of the anti-hero was very new. Probably introduced by Han Solo. You know, and again, although I did like the Han Solo movie, I thought that Han Solo, back then the story's about Luke Skywalker. It's not
Yeah.
about you know. Um, yeah.
So I ain't gonna keep you too long away from your vacation.
Oh, thank you.
Um, before I let you go, what's next for you
Well, right now,
in the
yeah,
world?
right
What's next for
in the
you?
world. Well, right now, I don't. I don't really know. I'm gonna pop up on a. I don't know. I can't. I don't know that I can tell you the name of it because it's pretty secret. But I'm gonna pop up briefly on a show that's coming on Apple TV. Um, and and honestly, it's one of those things too where a lot of times when you get these auditions, you're auditioning for this show, and it's called whatever, and that's not the real name, so you don't know. And then when you get on set and get the script and you get the title page, it tells you the title of it, but until you know the real title. But this one I can't remember. I'm actually in it. I pay like a therapist, and I'm in it so briefly that like I don't even remember the name. So, but that's what I'm waiting to come out. And then other than that, we are pitching to a few production companies. We're pitching our Lalcore TV show. And hopefully something will go on with that. And then other than that, just trying to get out there. I'm available. So, if you know anybody, sorry, there was a few auditions that I did have that I might have been, some of them too young for because I thought I really had great auditions and I didn't hear. So I was a little disappointed, but that's the nature of that's the nature of the business and is the nature of the business for everybody, including Hugh Jackman, or whoever, you don't get everything you want. Um, so we'll see. Keep a lookout, for me, and I'll be happy to come back if it's something that you.
Of course. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell you something funny. I'm not into acting. Far as I know how to do agencies and do booking and stuff, but I was gonna try my first audition, and
Oh, great.
COVID happened.
Oh,
I didn't know what to do when they were doing BMF.
yeah, yeah.
They were season one. They were doing the call casting and everything in New York City. I have a
Hmm.
coworker who's an actor,
Hmm.
and he does a lot of short films and stuff. And he was going to audition. He called me, and I was like, "Oh, where is it?" He was like, "In New York." He was like, "Come with me," and I was like, "All right." And he was like, "Yo, you audition too." I know nothing about it, so I don't have a script or nothing. I'm just like, "All right, come on." I didn't know if I needed it. I didn't know how to look it up. I didn't even know how to find it. I just told him like, "All right, we're gonna go do the audition. We're gonna go do the audition." So it's like 2 weeks before. He like, "Yo, this the date. Meet me here. We're gonna go to New York together." COVID happened 4 days before.
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
when BMF airs, there is a character who resembles me. And he was like, "Yo, you could have auditioned and probably been him." He like, "Y'all the
yeah.
same size." He don't he barely got lines, but he was in like the first 3 episodes a lot. And I'm just like, I never tried to do it again.
Yeah, you should try. You should try.
I have no
That
idea
show.
how.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the. Yeah, I would tell you, but I don't really know how either. So it's like,
Like I see the
um,
things online that be like audition, and I'll be hesitant. Like I don't know. Like I don't know if this is real. I don't know if this is a scam. So
yeah,
I just stray away from it.
yeah. Well, it's always worth it. That show though, I don't watch, but that's more about the music industry, isn't it?
Nah, that's more. It's not. It's in the same realm as Power. It's about
Oh, it is.
yeah. It's about a drug kingpin. But that's a true story. That's a bio show because
Yeah,
the
that's
guy
what
the
I
show is
thought.
about is in jail. Yeah. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's about drug dealing.
yeah, yeah,
It's about
yeah.
drug dealing.
They're doing now. I mean, I don't know anything about it, but they are doing Power Origins, which I guess is
Mhm.
about. I was like, they could stick a mustache on me or something. I can grow a big handlebar mustache. I look like a different person with a wig, and that's a thing that I would love to do. Put me in some lifts and a wig, mustache. I'd be a different person. Play a cop on one of those.
I just don't know when an online audition is real. The only time I know
Yeah.
when any of 50 Cent shows is doing real things is when he posted. If he's
Yeah.
not the one posting it, I don't even know if it's real or not.
Right. Right. Yeah. You can check out IMDb too. Yeah. There's a thing you can check out. There's a actorsaccess.com that has those are legit auditions. People
Okay,
go on there.
okay,
People get their start on there. Sometimes you just go through there, you listen, you look at it. A lot of times they'll do short films. I'm sure your buddy knows this. They'll do short films. Filming in like you're in like upper close to the city, but in New Jersey, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They'll and I mean, I know you guys told me I didn't want to give it away to anybody who was listening, but they yeah, they film, they'll do stuff there all the time. That auditions, you don't have to come into the city either. Sometimes it audition. Well, nowadays everything is over. You put your own setup there. You got a good mic, so it's like
Right.
everything is on. You send yourself in so you can have your chance to you get the sides, videotape yourself, videotape. record yourself. And
you said it's actorsaccess.com.
Yeah. Everybody can do that. That's how, that's how a lot of people get their stuff, and that's one of the things. And there's also a lot of different levels. Sometimes my reps will just send me something through there because it's a great, because you have these files of your auditions, which are huge, and so it's easy to upload to that platform, and then that platform sends it up. And you can, there are different levels of, I guess, who knows? There are different levels of membership that you can have. And obviously I've got the highest one because I'm auditioning for TV shows and movies and stuff like that. But again, it's easy. You just upload your stuff there to that page. And so I personally enjoy filming the auditions myself. Although, I was just talking to my reps and they were like, oh yeah, these people are your, these casting directors who are your friends. And I was like, I've never met them, in real life. We've just spoken over the phone, maybe, we've traded emails together, but, because nowadays, again, the last 4 years, you don't go into the office anymore, which a lot of actors really miss. A lot of actors really miss going and chatting. I got a buddy who lives out in LA. He does not like recording his audition, and he likes to go into the room, and he's super handsome, so he kind of goes into the room and flips his hair and just like flirts with everybody.
He works the room.
He works the room, and that's what you see. That's almost better than being a good actor.
Yeah, but I'm gonna let you get back to vacation and relaxing.
All right, thank you.
I love and thank you and appreciate you for coming on the platform and showing some love. Look, I didn't even know we was gonna talk about comic books.
Yeah, right. My wife's in the other room. She's gonna make fun of me about that as soon as I hang up.
I done got my wife into it, so I got my wife watching comics, anime. She into all of it now, so I'm gonna give it a real try, and she'll love it. She'll truly love it. So thank you very much. Right. I appreciate you coming through and showing some love. No problem. Man. Thank you very much.
Love meeting you. Thank you much. Had a great fun.
All right.
Bye-bye.
I roll my weed up. Niggas trip, but they can't see us. Big plays when I'm on top now. I got this, kick your feet up. Watch how I double up now. It's gonna cost 10 to